Let's bring our attention within. And observe the process that creates our awareness. Awareness within a body is the result. It's the result of a process that involves most of the organs of the body, and in many ways all of the organs of the body. This process is happening constantly. If the process is not working properly, we know about it. So return to observing your process, because in this process there are subtle differences that are very easy to miss, and they make all the difference. This process results in the manifestation of the human soul. The manifestation of the human soul is a form that reality takes on temporarily. And we are in charge of that process. In order to observe this process, we have to be in silence. Silence meaning that we're not trying to create our own process. If we're not doing anything, we're just receiving, then there's only the process. If we're trying to influence things, then there's the process, but the process is directed elsewhere, and therefore the process does not perceive itself. So since we've been born, we've been observing the world, and everything we've observed has enhanced our capacity for this process. We've learned different ways of processing our life force. Speech is one of the ways. We've learned how to process our life force into speech. If we learn the trade, if we learn the profession, we learned how to process the life force into a manifested form. And so behind every form there's the raw material, the essence that is being used in order to create the form. But the true value of this process does not lie in the form that gets created. It lies in the essence. The process serves the essence. The essence wants to manifest. So the form is meant to serve the essence. When we observe our process, we can see that sometimes the form does not serve the essence. And that's because the essence forgot itself in that form. That form seemed so enticing, either something that is so lovable or something that causes fear, until the essence forgot itself in that love or in that fear. And there is a love and a fear where the essence is supposed to forget itself. There's a purpose of why the nature is that we forget ourselves in love and in fear. But that love and that fear has to be directed inward to Source. If we forget ourselves in that love or in that fear, then we become more. If we forget ourselves in the love or in the fear of something outside of us, we become less. Because everything outside of us is temporary, the essence is permanent. So if we give the essence identity in the temporary, we are making her weak, we're making her small, we're selling ourselves short. And so form is not to identify the essence, form is to express the essence. Form is to glorify the essence. Form is to show gratitude to the realization that the essence exists. And the essence exists in such a way that it decided to partner in existence with you and with me. So this gratitude only becomes evident when the process is directed towards what's best for the essence. Then the form takes on a shape, takes on a biological setting that is suitable to the essence. The angels know. Every instruction that we give within our being has a response. The angels know. We might not know what the response is and how far it reaches, but the angels know. Things that happened to us in childhood, we didn't know how much it affected our entire trajectory, but the angels knew, and they kept the score, and therefore whatever happened, happened. And so there are particles that are keeping track, because that's the nature of biology. The spiritual is physical and the physical is spiritual. Information is ingrained in physical particles until they're actually being processed by a biological process. While we sleep, information is being organized based on a biological process. If the window is open, we see that processing in our dreams. And it doesn't make any kind of sense, but that's exactly how we crunch the information. It makes biological sense. And it works so well that the human brain functions seamlessly. It has a way to compare the information and to come to conclusions that give it continuance. It knows how to make sense of things because it comes from the source of things. And so the process that creates form is the process that is going to dress up the essence. And the dress is going to decide how comfortable the essence is in the form. And every form is a vessel of light, is a vessel of existence. It's a vessel for the very life force that creates it. The life force, once it dresses up in that vessel, is permanently dressed so, because in that moment it always was that way and always will be that way. And that moment, while we experience through time, comes and goes, but that moment in the permanent reality just is. Always was and always will be. Because time is a sequence of cause and effect. So even the effects that are happening today are still calculating everything that happened till now in order to come to a conclusion. Everything is still relevant. It might be minute. We might not be able to see the effect that it's having. But if it existed, then the effect is there. It's part of the calculation. It gets mixed in with everything else, and then it gets crunched. Biologically, and even beyond biologically, in the trees, in the air, in the oceans. The information is being calculated, and there are consequences because the wisdom designed it that way. If there were no consequences, then it would be meaningless. It would be the opposite of wisdom. It would be foolishness. Because there are consequences, there's wisdom. Wisdom means what consequences to which actions, what causes something else to happen. This is the nature of wisdom, the order of reality. The order of what's happening inside of us and creating us. That's the only order. Everything else is happening in that same order. So inside of us we have everything. We know everything. We are everything. If we allow our awareness to unite with the innate intelligence that formed whatever we are. And that intelligence has a desire to manifest within each and every one of us. This is the source of our pain. If that intelligence didn't want to manifest within us, then he wouldn't be aggravated when things didn't go in the way that he designed. So every frustration is from something inside that knows better. We might misunderstand the information, we might present a false story, and that's the cause of the frustration. Nevertheless, that false story is not what reality should be, and therefore the response is accurate. Come back to your own process and realize this process. Realize that every conclusion you ever had was a result of this process, which means every conclusion we ever had is subject to the integrity of this process. If we are not perfecting this process, none of our conclusions are right. If the process is just happening by happenstance, then we certainly are picking up information that is not accurate and therefore coming to wrong conclusions. So the only way we can come to right conclusions within is if we start observing the process that creates these conclusions. And that process is silently happening constantly. It can never stop. If it stops, then you find yourself outside the body. That's a very different form of perception. What we're experiencing right now is biological perception. Biological perception means that we are subject to our organs in order to know what's going on. If our organs are not accurate, we cannot know what's going on. We'll blame all the wrong things. Return to your process and observe the process. And not only now, but whenever we want to come to any real decisions or to a clear conclusion, we have to first observe our process. If our process is not stable, or if our process is not feeling specifically aligned at that moment, then it's not the time to ask it for conclusions. The process is all we have, because even if we go to others for advice, our understanding of the advice, implementation of the advice, is going to be based on our process. We can't bypass the process. Everything in this world happens after our process. What we are in the other world is before our process. And if we have a good source, if there's purity in our line from where we received life, then maybe our process matters less. Because we're trying to attain a certain level of something. There's something that we are being spiritually measured for. And we either qualify, meaning that we can contain this level of energy and survive and realize and enjoy, or we're not yet qualified, meaning this knowledge and realization would be bad for us. We wouldn't be able to digest it and live with it. And so there's a form of perfection in this process that is required in order for the process to be able to contain more light. If the process is constantly running into conflict and there's a lot of overreaction and drama, then there cannot be more realization. The organism wouldn't be able to handle it. So some of us start off better than others in this process. Some of us have it easier than others. And yet all of us need to get to a certain standard in order to be able to achieve deeper realization. Realization means knowing truth. Knowing the truth that is going to be visible after we leave the body. And that truth is not aligned with what people are used to thinking. And so not everybody can handle the truth. The more our process is aligned, the more all we can handle is the truth. If our process is properly aligned, we cannot even handle a lie. A lie would immediately throw our process off. This is the process of creating life. This is the most important process in this world. And this world, the process that takes place in this world is the seed for everything that takes place after. But this process creates all the worlds. The same process that happens on the individual level happens on the collective level. And there it's simply the aggregate of all the individuals. And of course the consequences, much more far-reaching. So observe yourself becoming you. Realize that without you there is silence, absolute silence. And so everything that's there is you. There's no noise. other than your own noise. Even my noise is first becoming your noise before you can even hear it. So everything that's between silence and the experience is the organs making their own noise. Some organs are picking up from the outside, and some organs are picking up from the inside. But they're all coming from within and uniting in your perception as one. Return to that one. The one they are all serving. The one that was there before they started functioning, and the one that's going to be there after they no longer function. The one that's holding the space for everything to take place. The more we unite with that one, the easier our process flows. Everywhere we go, we're focusing on a different part of the process, and then our energy might disturb the process in that place. Anywhere we focus, we might bring nervous energy and cause that place to flow less. If we care too much about what's going to happen, we're bringing nervous energy. Nature just flows. Nature doesn't care. It just flows. It just happens. It just allows. It came out from the beginning so perfect that it's not thinking on every move. It knows its moves and it just makes them. When we come and we want a specific outcome, we're stopping that flow. And then the process can get into conflict. When we focus on the one, we're not concerned about any outcomes. We already have the prize. And then the process just flows. Whatever needs to happen, happens. Whatever adjustments need to take place. Nature knows. It came, every particle with its own instructions. It knows exactly what it needs to do, and also when. If we're out of the way, we, the awareness, if we're not causing any conflict, everything flows. So return to the unity and allow yourself to flow. And find your residence there.